Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At the Bloomington City Council Committee of the Whole meeting on October 26th, the council deliberated over a proposed four-way stop at the corner of Maxwell Street and Sheridan. Councilmember Dave Rollo presented the ordinance. He explained why he thinks the intersection change is necessary.
It's a very hazardous intersection. It currently is a two-way stop, that is north and southbound Sheridan stop at Maxwell, but Maxwell does not stop. And there is, because of topography, there is a blind hill to the west of the intersection, which presents a real problem, presents a hazard to pedestrians and bicycles and cars. And so what we're proposing here is to install an always stop to increase the order and predictability of that intersection.
The council voted 5-1-0 with a do pass recommendation. The Bloomington City Council will take a final vote on the intersection change at their next meeting on November 2nd. At the Monroe County Commissioners meeting on October 26th, Highway Director Lisa Ridge presented on the progress of a roundabout design located at Rogers Street and Gordon Pike.
So how this began, we developed a beautification committee, consisted of the county commissioners, highway personnel, residents, and the Bachelor Area Neighborhood Association. The commissioners budgeted a roundabout landscaping project and the general obligation bond, showing the commitment to build a landscaping project that the residents could appreciate and be aesthetically appealing. We hired Hitchcock Design Firm to help with the design. Many meetings were held, and of course this happened through COVID, so we had many Zoom meetings, and great ideas were shared by all. Next slide. The project went out for bid in the spring of 2022, and it was not awardable due to the cost. The highway department decided to put together the project piece by piece. So we reached to different vendors, electrical services, and met with landscaping personnel, stone companies, while trying to still maintain the concept that the committee had worked really hard to put together.
The commissioners approved a contract with Nature's Way to install the landscaping, lighting, and an irrigation system at the roundabout. Later, Planning Department GIS specialist Ann Crecelius introduced a rezoning petition.
So this petition is located at 5100 West Victor Pike in Perry Township, Section 29. The property is 4.9 acres and is developed and operating as a Sunco gas station. The site is accessed from South Victor Pike and is approximately 500 feet from the intersection of South Victor Pike and South State Road 37. It's approximately 0.1 mile from the convergence of State Road 37 and Interstate 69. And it's located approximately 0.3 miles north of the Dillman Road wastewater treatment plant.
Crecelius gave background on the site, a Sunoco gas station where the owners have been offering overnight parking to truck drivers, which she explained is not allowed under the current zoning ordinance. Crecelius shared that the Planning Department recommends the commissioners deny the rezone request.
In 2019, the Planning Department received a complaint regarding the site's brightness of exterior lights and truck idling, and some removal of trees located in a corner. So upon staff review, there had been expansion of the parking area in the northeast side, or the upper right corner of the photo, which is highlighted in yellow. The zoning inspector requested and received a use determination submission. The planning director at the time, Larry Wilson, determined that the site was previously a legal pre-existing non-conforming use of convenience store. Mr. Wilson determined that the pre-existing non-conforming uses plus overnight parking would either have to be qualified as a truck stop travel plaza or a trucking terminal as defined under Chapter 802. Neither use is permitted in the pre-existing business district. So the site was unable to meet the conditions of either use, which could have been allowed them to seek a rezone to a different district. So the only planning process available that would allow the combinations of uses on the site were to seek a rezone to the plan unit development. So on the screen is an image, a table provided by the petitioner. During discussion, of this petition at Plan Review Committee and Plan Commission, we sometimes referred back to the use of a truck stop travel plaza or trucking terminal. The petitioners state that the proposed uses that they're proposing within the plan unit outline do not resemble the extensive and intensive uses identified under a truck stop or trucking terminal conditional use that's already permitted in Chapter 813. So this illustration shows the uses that are allowed under a trucking terminal under our ordinance currently, and the uses that they're proposing and are on site.
During public comment on the item, Monroe County resident Guy Loffman spoke in opposition of the rezoning ordinance, saying that they should not be rewarded for getting away with breaking the zoning requirements.
I've lived at 4835 South Victor Pike since 1974. We are less than a quarter mile toward Bloomington and downhill from this business. And we are neighbors. We are in the same neighborhood. And this convenience store is good for our neighborhood. It's convenient. But overnight parking is not good for our neighborhood. It decreases our quality of life, noise, light, traffic, air pollution, ugly. We don't want our evenings disrupted with this kind of additional use. As you stated, they can go to Walmart. It's a little inconvenient for them. It's very inconvenient and negative for the community where we live. Petitioners don't charge for overnight parking. They don't need overnight parking. They acknowledge that their store will remain open even if overnight parking remains prohibited. A prior non-conforming use should not be intensified through the back door of planned unit development. Allowing overnight truck parking would be an intensification. Petitioners have violated their restrictions for years. Violation of restrictions should not be rewarded by removing restrictions.
The Monroe County Commissioners voted unanimously to deny the zoning request. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day.
Believing in me,
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough.
To respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school.
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why.
Welcome back to Cats Week. During the October 25th meeting of the Monroe County Community School Corporation Board of Trustees, Director of Business Operations John Kenny outlined a recommendation to approve the 2023 budget.
It is recommended the board adopt the resolution of appropriations and tax rates for the 2023 budgets. It is further recommended the board adopt the resolutions approving the 2023 capital projects plan and the 2023 bus replacement plan. The board received information regarding the 2023 budgets on August 23rd, when advertisement of the budgets was approved. The 2023 budgets were reviewed again on September 27th, when a hearing on the budgets was conducted. No objections to the budgets, tax levies, or tax rates have been received by the school corporation. The board is required by Indiana statute to meet no later than November 2nd, 2022, for the purpose of adopting a budget for the upcoming year. Appropriate notices to taxpayers were published for the September 27th hearing on the proposed budgets, and the time, date, and location of the meeting to adopt the proposed budgets and plans. Having met the statutory requirements regarding publication of the hearings on the proposed 2023 budgets and plans, the administration recommends the board approve resolutions adopting these budgets and plans.
The school board approved next year's budget unanimously. Next, Dr. Deborah Prinkert and Dr. Aaron Stahlbaum gave a presentation about the professional learning equity goal in the school corporation's strategic plan. Dr. Prinkert explained.
As he mentioned, we're excited to be here to talk about equity goal number 2. The rationale for this is to empower staff and school board through relevant learning experiences, uniting these stakeholders around the MCCSE shared vision and work. And on the right-hand side, you can see kind of the schedule that we'll be using throughout this school year. Definition and context. We want to make sure that we're all working from the same perspective. The professional learning results in equitable and excellent outcomes for all students when staff and school board are continuously immersed in professional learning cycles that prioritize rigorous content, transformational processes, a culture of collaborative inquiry, and of course, the structures necessary to prioritize professional learning. On the right-hand side, we have a word cloud. We did ask our administrators to write down some of their thoughts about professional learning. The words that are bold and bigger came up multiple times. So you can see teachers is a fairly large area there, PD, professional development, professional learning, staff, and of course, time is often a limitation for professional learning. So the outcomes that I want to talk about, you may remember that Dr. Oswald had Adam Terwilliger present last month about equity, access, and opportunity. And he spoke about maximizing student instructional time and increasing student academic results. We believe those same values are consistent for our professional learning, but we wanted to add 2 more: cultivating professional learning and securing structures for relevant and meaningful professional development. We have a brief narrative down there below that a system for professional learning ensures that all MCCSE stakeholders are engaged in professional development that prioritize personalized growth to continuously focus on equity and excellence for students, staff, and board members.
During public comment, Bloomington resident Ruth Eit raised concerns about the new Student Equity Ambassador program. She argued that students were not given a meaningful voice with the program.
My name is Ruth Eit. I am a supporter of public education. I'm a member of the Monroe County NAACP. I'm concerned that our students of color are facing ongoing challenges within MCCSE. I spoke at the August board meeting, and during that meeting, I was very excited to hear about the new Student Equity Ambassador program that would engage students and give them a meaningful voice in the development of anti-racism policies. At that meeting, I stated that I was a lifelong learner, and I am continuing to learn from the MCCSE students who are speaking up against racism. I have learned that the students were not involved in setting the schedule or the agenda for the Equity Ambassador program. I have learned that the anti-racism policy proposed by some students earlier this year has not been discussed during the meetings, and that the students have had very little time to speak and to be heard. I have learned that I must be reminded again and again that a timeline and format that I think is a good one often is not one that truly encourages open and honest discussions. These students are good teachers. I believe the MCCSE administrators and board do want the Equity Ambassador program to succeed. I'm here today to ask the administration to engage the students in the entire process, including the planning, and to show up ready to listen to the students and to learn from them. The success of the program depends on both the students and the administration being accountable. Unless everyone is involved as a truly equal partner, I am afraid this program is going to do more harm than good. Please keep the community informed as you do this work. Our community is stronger when we learn from each other. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you very much.
The MCCSC School Board will meet again on Tuesday, November 15th. On October 25th, at the Bloomington Board of Public Works meeting, Engineering Field Specialist Jason Kerr asked the board to approve permits to continue the city-wide fiber project.
The areas include South Park Ridge Road, East Tamron Drive, East Janet Drive, and East Discovery Parkway. This will be inclusive of mobile lane closures and sidewalk closures as the project progresses, of course. And I did have notation from yesterday's work session about work times that was asked about. They are working 8 to 5, but we are under agreement that within school zones, they would be 9 to 3, and that'll be put into our actual permit as a provision for them to follow. We did talk to them yesterday about that, and they totally agree with doing that. We're also going to try to get them a map of those school zones so they have that in effect as well.
The board unanimously approved the permits. Later, Director of Public Works Adam Wason explained why the contract concerning bird scooters was pulled from the agenda.
After some communications from some city council members and others yesterday about the renewals, city staff in coordination with the mayor's office and legal decided that we were going to pull this from the agenda at this time while we do some further coordination with both the university and the city council. Part of that's going to be some revision or evaluation of some data and a combined conversation with the university and their team that are working on scooter issues. So we're removing that for the time being. They would operate under their current license. We're expecting that hopefully within 2 to 4 weeks we would have a kind of course of action for all 3 companies. They're all up for renewals about the same time frame here over the next month or so. So we're hoping within the next 2 to 4 weeks we would bring those back in front of the bring something back in front of the board as after we kind of get our coordination back with the others. So that's where it stands right now, and we're in direct communication with all the companies. You know, as Alex mentioned in yesterday's work session, you know, we're expecting as the temperatures get cooler to see less and less scooters. They'll be lowering their fleets and everything this time of year. It doesn't buy us time, but it allows us some time to, it's going to allow us a longer period over the winter to really dive deeper as well. But we plan to have something back for the board in the next several weeks.
The next Board of Public Works meeting will be held on Monday, November 7th to accommodate for Election Day. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
Welcome back to Cats Week. The Ellettsville Town Council discussed the Governor Park apartment complex at their meeting on October 24th. Representing the development company, Allied Argenta, Yvonne Delgadillo asked the council members to approve a pilot program which would grant them with a 30-year tax abatement.
We were hoping that we wouldn't have to come back, but the reason I'm here before you today is that a few years ago, you guys had, the town council approved a 10-year tax exemption for Governor Park Indiana LLC. At that time, the state of Indiana was looking at implementing a statewide pilot program that would allow all affordable housing projects to apply for this pilot agreement for a tax exemption. And it wasn't approved until December 2020 and took effect January 2021. We actually came before you a few months ago, and there was one approved for Richland Apartments. And what we would like the town council to consider is granting this pilot agreement for Governor Park as well. The reason we're coming now is, one, that this pilot agreement is available, but to also provide an update on the challenges that we've encountered with Governor Park, Indiana, or Governor Park Apartments. And that's when I come back to what I was saying before, that I wish that we didn't have to come and ask for the assistance. About 6 years ago, when we first started to put together Governor Park, we were looking at a $9 million project. When we were finally able to secure the 9% tax credits and get to closing, we found out that our budget had gone up, at that time, 11 million, and then when we finally got the final contract from Powers and Sons, it came out to 18 million at that time. We had to make a lot of adjustments, and even today we've had to make them. This project has probably been one of the most challenging we've ever encountered, and but it's also been really important for us to be able to provide this type of affordable housing in the town of Ellettsville. And like I said, we wouldn't have been able to move forward with it without the support from the town in every way. Denise and Kevin and Chief Peyton and Mr. Farmer, everyone, and all of you that have supported in every which way. So right now, this pilot agreement would allow the project to count in terms of operations to be able to provide those participants that can't afford right now to live there, to be able to live there.
This was the first reading of the request. The council will take a final vote on the tax abatement request at their next meeting. At the Bloomington Utilities Service Board meeting on October 24th, Capital Projects Manager Dan Hudson asked the board to approve a contract with Wessler Engineering for an evaluation and design of the electrical system at Monroe Wastewater Treatment Plant.
I'd like the board to consider an agreement with Wessler Engineering to perform the engineering work and design and construction work for the Monroe Water Treatment Plant electrical upgrade. This is a design build transfer project. It's a little different than the other projects we've done in the past, but I'd like the board to consider that.
President of the board, Jeff Amen, asked Hudson what was different about the contract. Hudson said that they changed the way they accepted the bids for the project.
The other projects were a design bid build projects where we publicly advertise and get bidders for the project. This, we ask for qualifications of a contractor and select the contractor based on qualifications at 30% of the design.
Hudson said that the purpose of the change is to help them pick the most qualified contractor.
I don't know if it is open for more hanky-panky or not, but it is, I believe, will help us select the most qualified contractor. In the past, we're selecting contractors that are responsive or responsible, but then are basically the lowest bid. This is a very specialized contract, electrical design, and general contractors don't fit the qualifications directly.
Board member Jean Kapler said that she appreciated the city looking into a more efficient way to operate.
I just want to say I appreciate the city looking at sort of our business as usual way of doing things and at least being open to and trying something that has the potential to be a more efficient, more effective way to do it. So, thank you.
The board approved the contract with Wessler Engineering unanimously. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.